We've had some people that have bought resales that were turnarounds. They were not performing great, and they were able to come in as a full-time owner, go all in, and start to produce some exciting results. He hated it because he's a hands-on, get out there kind of guy, right? And so, he was just like deeply unhappy, really wanted to be an entrepreneur, have flexibility, and be able to like provide for his family. If you're the type of person where you're like, I don't know that I want to have a big team. I want to have the flexibility to be as small or as big as I want and kind of dip my toes in the water. I think a business like this is a perfect opportunity.
It is a combination of like traditional, like digital and print marketing, but I do know the owners that are the most successful, they say that they've done a good job of building those referral partnerships.
For anyone that works with us, the very first thing you need to do is... This will be the first of many podcasts that will now have this new format. So if you aren't familiar, every week we send out a Franchise Empire newsletter going over some franchise opportunities and breaking down their numbers. We talk about their sales, their startup cost, all kinds of information, how long they've been in business, how many franchisees they have. We talk about what makes them unique, some really interesting stuff. We then do a video newsletter version of it, breaking them down live. So we're going to now start publishing these recordings as podcast episodes so we can reach more of you and provide as much value as possible. And so in this episode, this was one of our newsletters where we're going to talk about a low cost and low expense franchise that shows $592,000 in average sales. We're going to talk about an affordable resale opportunity that you can hit the ground running with. One of the things we do here is we talk about a franchise resale that's available in a specific market every week. We're also going to talk about a guy who bought a franchise for less than $100,000 all in, and how to find franchises that best match your personality and behavioral style. So if you want to get the email newsletters in your inbox of these newsletters every Sunday morning, go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter. And with that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and building your empire doesn't happen overnight. My name is Tarek Johnson, and owning franchises is what helped me go from employee to employer and start building my empire for my family. So this podcast is for you, the empire builders. For those of you who want to build something that stands the test of time. This is for those of you who are crazy enough to believe that you can make the dream in your head come to life. This podcast is all about bringing you real people who are building real empires so you can get inside their mind and heart and get proven strategies and actionable insights that will catapult you to build, grow, and scale your empire. Today we're going to cover some good stuff. We got a low cost and low expense franchise that we're going to show you that shows about $592,000 a year in average sales. We're going to show you an affordable resale opportunity where you can really hit the ground running. We're also going to talk about a guy who bought a franchise for less than $100K all in. That's Josh. That's in there, by the way. And then we're going to talk about the latest episode of the Franchise Empire Show, which is how to find franchises that match your personality and behavioral style. So let's just jump right in. I realize my sound may sound a little bit different. I'm in a different office that is just bare walls. So it might sound a little echoey. But let's talk about this resale, Kevin.
Yeah, so I'm also in a Florida office. I'm out of state here, so I may sound a little different as well. But so this resale is from Floor Coverings International, FCI for short. So we've talked about Floor Coverings a couple times, but they are a floor remodeling franchise. They do both residential and commercial work. And so Floor Coverings, if we want to scroll down a little bit here. Yeah, so they've been around since 1988. They have over 250 locations throughout the country. They do all different types of flooring, and that's what they specialize in. So, you have some franchises that try to be more general contractors and do everything. This company just solely focuses on flooring, and it's a really strong franchise. So this particular resale is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm actually going there later this week, that area. But so Fort Lauderdale, if we can scroll down a little bit, Tarek. Asking price of 160,000. So this is going to be a turnaround opportunity, as we alluded to. I think to get into a new unit of floor coverings is around 250,000. So, this is something where it's probably an owner that just hasn't hit the ground running. Because they looks like they started October of last year. Probably wants out of the franchise agreement for whatever reason, but this is something where you can step into a floor coverings opportunity and kind of hit the ground running. They have 3 subcontracted crews in place that they have relationships with. So a lot of times owners in this model will start using subcontractors, and then as you grow your business, you can evaluate it if you want to hire your own W-2 employees as your crews. But it looks like they're using subs. They do have included in the asking price a mobile showroom. So what's nice about FCI is you don't have to have like a physical showroom, and that keeps your initial investment pretty low. But so you can operate this pretty lean at the start. You can grow into a small showroom or a warehouse, but at the start you can kind of operate it out of the mobile showroom, which is just basically a van. It has different product samples that you show your customers. So it looks like this particular van is 100% paid off, and this would come with the sale. So my guess is, again, this is a situation where the owner got into the wrong business for whatever reason. You can get into a really strong franchise in a pretty good market, Fort Lauderdale area. And I do believe it's 2 territories for this. So pretty big territory size. But when you look at the FDD for FCI, the top 50% of owners have an AUV of 1.8 million. So, definitely a scalable business. This is one where you as the owner are probably going to start doing some of the sales and learn how to do that. And then you would hire on sales reps underneath you and then kind of manage the business at a higher level. But yeah, like I said before, the average investment for a new unit is around 250. So this is, seemingly a pretty good opportunity to get a discount on a 2 territory location. But yeah, I think that's it for that one. Anything you would add here?
Yeah. So, these opportunities are interesting overall because I mean I know when you guys are watching this, you may go, well, they're only selling for 160, and as we as Kevin mentioned, like this is what we consider like a turnaround opportunity. Now, obviously, like if you wind up being interested in this specific resale, you can talk to the owner, find out why they're selling. Could be a health issue, could be them moving, could be a bunch of things. But we've seen a couple of instances like this of clients that have purchased franchises, not necessarily this specific one, although Kevin and the team have helped some clients buy FCI franchise. But we've had some people that have bought resales that were turnarounds. They were not performing great, and they were able to come in as a full-time owner, go all in, and start to produce some exciting results, like much better than the previous owner. So, I think it's important to look at this. It's like, when people think of stock investing, right? There's a reframe that really occurs here, that needs to occur. And I find that this, Kevin, we talk about this even with high price resales. It's like we always have to educate people, which is that, like this is an opportunity. Think about the stock market. If you knew, if right now you could buy Apple stock for 60 cents on the dollar, you'd be like, oh hell yeah! Like there's no major catch. Like I could just buy Apple stock or I could buy an iPhone for 40% off. Like, yeah, you can buy an iPhone. You're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll take a couple of them, resell, resell them. So that's how I would look at something like this, which is, for whatever reason, someone is selling this and they're not performing to the average. Granted, they're not even a year in. So like it takes some time. So that's my perspective overall, is that we've seen clients succeed in these scenarios, and so I think it's an opportunity to really grab something at a discount. So our team have looked into a few hundred franchises and put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million or more and that have a proven track record of both happy and profitable franchisees. So if you have a net worth of at least $150,000 and you want to see if the territory that you want is still available for any of these franchises, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. If I totally agree with you. I mean, it's like I'm the type of person I like to get a good deal, and if you can get a good deal on like a really good franchise, in a good market, all those things are all appealing. If it's an average franchise and it's a turnaround, then that's one thing. But this is a strong franchise. It's a pretty good market, and I think if I remember correctly, this owner, I think this was an E2 visa candidate and English was the second language. So I think it's been a little bit more of an uphill battle than they were expecting, so I'm pretty sure that this is the location where they mentioned that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know Fort Lauderdale has a ton of money. I mean, I know Fort Lauderdale, there's a lot of money in that area. So like from a market perspective, Naomi had a question.
Would this franchise work in New York City? Yeah, I don't know why not. I mean, I think in New York City, depending on what part of the city you're in, you'd probably need a mobile showroom to be able to operate, something like this. So, again, it's just a matter of identifying those subcontractors in the market that are going to be a good partner for you. And, FCI would help with that and understand how to compensate those subcontractors to keep them happy and ensure quality control and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't work. The way it works, Naomi, is when you sell a project, let's say you go into a home and you meet with the homeowner, you sell a project and it's a $10,000 project. Well, you'd get a signed contract and to collect a deposit for all the materials for that specific project. So you're covering, the cost of the materials before you order them from the supplier. And so, once you get the materials shipped to you from the supplier, that's when you can, have it forecasted on your schedule to do the actual installation. So I guess the point of what I'm saying is you could probably get around not needing like a warehouse when you first started this business. You could do it pretty lean and operate it from your van and or your home.
Boom. So, hey, for those of you guys, if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, if you're in Florida overall, or maybe you're open to moving, that happens sometimes, where you're down to relocate for a good opportunity. I know there's a lot of people wanting to come to Florida, Kevin included, maybe not after experiencing it in July. But you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales. You'll enter your information there. You'll be able to set up a free 15-minute call with the team, either to connect you with this specific resale opportunity, or you can have a conversation with the team to learn more about what specific resales may be available in your area. With that said, let's move on. We're going to talk about the low-cost franchise in just a minute, but just want to hit on a quick client case study. Someone that Kevin and I kind of tag team in the beginning, and then Kevin really, and possibly Krista, really helped Josh to kind of get to the finish line. But I'll hit the front part of the story of just like when Josh came to us, and then Kevin, if you want to like talk about what that process was like. And I know we've highlighted him in a newsletter a long time ago, but Josh was kind of in a really tough situation where he was a wildland firefighter, right? Let me just show the picture of him. He was a wildland firefighter, and he would have to be gone for like days or weeks at a time fighting fires. And his son had diabetes, and he needed to be home more with his son. And so to make that happen, he wound up taking a desk job with the fire department. He hated it because he's a hands-on, get out there kind of guy, right? And so, he was just like deeply unhappy. really wanted to be an entrepreneur, have flexibility, and be able to like provide for his family. And Josh is like one of the most solid dudes that you could meet. And so he came to us. He wound up deciding to work with us within our zero to profitable franchise system, which is where we provide like online modules. You get to work with our brokerage team. We have a whole community of franchise buyers and franchisees, super robust. And initially, when Josh came in, he was pretty fixed on wanting to buy a fitness franchise. He's like, "Oh man, I'm really into fitness. I want to like start up a fitness franchise." And I remember my first call with him, he had told me about how he had like a flooring business on the side, which is funny, ironically enough. Uh, he had done a flooring business. He was super handy. I was like, "Hey man, I don't think fitness makes sense. You're in a rural area. It's going to be super expensive. Like home services, I think makes way more sense for you. But you're going to meet with the team. They'll be able to like go over that stuff with you." Hey, so if you want to figure out if you should buy a franchise and learn the fastest and easiest way to figuring out the best franchise to buy and everything you need to know about the process, then you'll want to go get access to our Franchise Buyers Academy. In our Franchise Buyers Academy, you'll get a behind-the-scenes look into specific franchises and exactly how much money they are making. You'll get simple formulas for finding money-making franchises and a blueprint on how to scale them into a franchise empire that can be sold for a lot of money later on. You'll be able to finally answer the question on, should I buy a franchise? Now you can get access at franchiseempire.com/FBA. Now let's get back to the episode. I think, Kevin, you want to kind of pick up the story from there?
Yeah, no, I think you set the stage pretty well there. But I mean, Josh was just awesome to work with because while he was passionate and excited about the fitness concept, when he was very receptive to our coaching and like when we walked through the data with him on like fitness franchises and the investment and how long it's going to take to make money, that just wasn't in the cards for him at this point in time. It's something where he needed to make a life change so he could be there for his son, but also like replace his income pretty quickly. And so for a number of reasons, that just didn't work. But he ended up buying a home inspection franchise that was a perfect fit. It's called Housemaster, and he's crushing it. So he actually, before he even signed the franchise agreement, had started making connections in the community, and he knew there was like a gap. So once he didn't even realize there was a home inspection franchise out there before we started. And then we went through our process. And when I pointed that out to him, that it might be a good idea for us to look into, he was like, "Wow, I think there's a huge gap in the market. Yes, please look into it." So long story short, Housemaster was available in the market. He went through validation, just confirmed his assumptions that, it was a good opportunity. And what's cool is like he lives in a very rural area in Northern California. It's not highly populated, but that business model was, it was okay with the population account in terms of like his ability to be successful. Some of the franchises came back and said, there's not enough people in that area for us to justify a franchisee. But he's done really well with Housemaster. He stepped right in. He does videos online. I follow him and I see him doing like inspection videos. So it ended up being a perfect fit for him just because it was, not much capital to inject at the start. He didn't need to take a huge loan. He could start doing inspections right away and make money. So yeah, very happy with that outcome for him. And I think he's done really well so far.
Yeah, awesome. I just dropped the link, you guys. If I don't know if you'll be able to click it, but I dropped the link to Josh did like I had met with him and we clipped like a few minute segment of just his feedback and kind of going through and his experience and just what the process was like overall. So you can check that out. And of course, if you get our newsletter, you can just click the link there. But actually, let me just drop the banner real quick. So guys, we send out this newsletter as an email, this whole thing. There's actually a whole like blurb at the top that I write. You can see it led with 80% of franchises suck. Uh, so we don't go over that here, but if you want to get it, go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter. And every Sunday at 8 a.m., this will hit your inbox and you'll be able to read it at your leisure. You'll be able to click on any of the things in here, watch that video of Josh, whatever it is. So definitely, go sign up for that for free, if you'd like. All right. No, not last. Actually, we got two other things, but we're going to pivot to the franchise of the week. So, Kevin, tell us about this one.
Yeah. So the one we just talked about, Housemaster, that was a low cost franchise, is around 75,000 total investment. This is another, what we classify as a low cost franchise that we really like. So it's called Gotcha Covered. They do everything in terms of window treatments for residential and commercial properties. So blinds, shades, shutters, anything you can do to cover a window essentially. And they have everything from the basic blinds all the way to, Alexa controlled blinds that are pretty fancy and, they're pretty high ticket prices. So this particular franchise, Gotcha Covered, was started in 2009. Its parent company is called Five Star. I think it's Five Star Franchises. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a Five Star brand. So Five Star is an umbrella company that has, I think, maybe 8 different home services franchises underneath its umbrella, and some pretty good ones. But Gotcha Covered, think of it almost as I'm sure people have heard of like a Budget Blinds. It's almost a competitor to Budget Blinds. But this one, they're a little bit smaller. They have 154 franchise units. This is one where you definitely start operating out of your home. So you would have a small van with product samples. It's like a mobile showroom, like we talked about in Floor Coverings International. But you would have a mobile showroom, and then you actually use subcontractors to do the installation. Now they'll train you on how to install all the products, and you can do some of that at the start just to kind of get a feel for it, and then you can hire on a W-2 employee to do the installs. But most people start out by subcontracting the work. So that's why you see that total investment between 103 and 136,000. It's pretty low because most of it is just that one-time franchise fee that includes a lot of the training, and then your marketing expenses to get up and running. But your role as the owner is going to be doing those consultations at the start. So a lot of times, at least for homeowners, you're probably going to be meeting with women who are wanting to order new blinds or whatever for a home they just moved into, or maybe they're doing a renovation project. You do a consultation with the software that they have to help them visualize some things. You get a signed contract. They place a deposit for all the materials, and then you order the materials from Gotcha Covered's preferred suppliers. So once those materials come in, and you go and do the installs. The installs take a day typically, unless it's a massive project. So it's a pretty quick turnaround on your money, and I think the average ticket prices are around like $4,000, so still pretty big. But this one, if you look at the FDD, so the way they reported it here were, 90 reporting owners operating during the 2023 calendar year. So the average annual gross sales was just under 600,000, so 592,000. Let's see here. And then does it say the high? Okay, and the high was 3.69 million out of that group. So it's definitely something you can scale. I do think they have a decent amount of owners that, kind of do everything, and they haven't really scaled the business. But it is definitely something where you can grow it. And then I know some of their bigger owners have like showrooms, actual physical showrooms where they meet with clients as well. But typically the model is doing it from a mobile basis. And then what does that second graph show here? Okay, so this is new franchisees, basically 1 to 2 years in business. So, average annual sales are not super high for the first year or two in business, but it looks like, it is something let's see, the high doing 472,000. So, you don't have a ton of overhead, like you don't really have employees either. So I imagine your margins on this business are pretty strong. But yeah, what's your take on this one, Tarek?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a Budget Blinds competitor, and I'm a big fan of that brand overall, although hard to find any new territory with budget blinds. Definitely resales. We've had a client that bought a resale with them, right? Was it Michael with
Ye-
budget blinds?
We've had two people buy budget blinds resales, but yeah, one was Mike. I can't remember the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of just the business model overall. I've just seen that the business model can do well, and yeah, it's definitely one of those businesses where what I've seen, especially in budget blinds, I would imagine it's a similar case here, is that you see a lot of just husband and wife teams that yeah they don't have much expenses at all, in their business. I mean, especially in that first year, you might. I've seen where literally, like, let's say that the wife does the sales and the husband does the installs, and vice versa. So they really, outside of just the cost of the product, the cost of goods sold, they don't have any other expenses outside of that, which is interesting. So I think for someone that, if you're the type of person where you're like, I don't know that I want to have a big team. I may just only, I want to have the flexibility to be as small or as big as I want and kind of dip my toes in the water. I think a business like this is a perfect opportunity. I mean, you're talking less than 150 grand all in to get up and running. And, you know, 12 to 24 month average is 250 in sales with super low expenses. And then you're talking about then after that, you got franchisees doing as high as 3.6 million in sales. I think it like, like this shows ultimate flexibility, really, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think the other part of it is I don't think some owners do it enough networking, because I do think that's a decent amount of this business is networking with like real estate agents and other referral partners that are just going to naturally send you clients. So it is a combination of like traditional like digital and print marketing, but I do know the owners that are the most successful, they say that they've done a good job in building those referral partnerships. Even with like home builders, think of, home builders where, they probably are going to subcontract the actual blinds installation. Those are the type of referral partners.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, if you guys are interested in learning more about, one, seeing if this franchise is available in your area, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. And you can set up a free 15-minute call with the team. Or if you just want to know, hey, what are some of the franchises that are available in my area that are solid, that match my skill set, my budget, etc., then go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. You'll be able to set up a free 15-minute call with the team to start the conversation overall. Keep in mind that you do need to have at minimum a bare minimum net worth of at least $150,000 to schedule this call to be able to have this conversation, because that's going to be the lowest financial requirement that the franchisors that we work with and have access to will have in terms of financial requirements. If you don't know how to get funding or anything like that, don't worry about that. We can figure out how to help you with that. We have a ton of content on it, a ton of resources, referral partners, etc. Last but not least, the most recent episode of the Franchise Empire Show was around. It was with Rebecca from the CEO and chief scientist at ZOral Profile. So, literally every single. If you guys aren't familiar with what ZOral is, it's a brief kind of behavioral assessment that really helps to figure out what your behavioral style is, how you're hardwired, from a variety of perspectives, to then help figure out what sort of franchises are going to be the best fit for you. Because we're all wired differently. We all have different natural strengths and gifts. And so this was a really interesting a podcast episode. Just so you guys know, like the very first step, like for anyone that works with us, the very first thing you need to do is, number one, a net worth calculator, so we can understand what your financial situation is. And facilitate with that process of making sure that you qualify and you can get the funding you need. Number two is Zoracle. And actually, Zoracle comes first. So it's actually number one is Zoracle. That's the very first thing that we have our clients do. So again, I got to sit down with the chief scientist, the founder and CEO, as she explains the profile. Oh, almost forgot. We pulled up my Zoracle. So in order for her to explain like what the report shows, I pulled up my Zoracle and she walked through the different pages of the report to explain like what that looked like, how that applied, and kind of what sort of opportunities would be a good fit for me, which I thought was pretty cool for her to talk through it. So you can check that out on the Franchise Empire Show YouTube channel. We have a very specific YouTube channel for the podcast, or wherever you consume your podcasts on any podcast platform. So that's all that I got for today. Kevin, anything else from your end?
Yeah, highly recommend taking the Zoracle, whether you work with us or not. But the Zoracle is a very fascinating assessment. And we've actually been trained. I don't know if I've even told you this, Tart, but we've been trained directly by Rebecca on the Zoracle. Chris and I have. So like, what to look for and how to interpret things. And we have resources that are like quick reference guides from her, but it's fascinating stuff. Almost every client I've worked with that takes the Zoracle said it's pretty much spot on for them and how they're wired. But occasionally we do see sometimes where it's not, but it's a very helpful tool just to understand, what type of franchise, like first we have to narrow down like the type of franchise that might even be a good fit for our clients. So yeah, it's a great starting point. So definitely listen to that one. We did have a question. Yeah, I was going to answer that. So the 150K, that is not liquid. So that is your net worth. And so net worth is basically all of your assets minus your liabilities. So like your home value, all your cash on hand, investments, any other assets you own, minus all the loans you have on those assets, if any.
Solid answer. Yeah, and actually, by the way, I had the team set up a redirect, Kevin. So if you guys if you want to take the Zoracle for free, we pay for it. You guys can take it for free and get the results. So go to franchiseempire.com/profile. So franchiseempire.com/profile. I dropped the link in the comments. You can take the Zoracle for free. It'll lead you to our licensed version of it. And you don't have to have like a call or anything with us. It'll send you the report. And you'll be able to, get the value out of it. But yeah, it's huge, super, super interesting. Yeah. Cool, guys. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Peace out. Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.